one of the lessons I learned from this book was, let's say you're paid a salary, you have to break it down into 4 components. So 10% is for saving. You have to save at least minimum 10%. You also have to give a tithe 10%. Remember, as Christians, we give tithe usually 10%. So that's the second 10%. Then another 10% is for emergencies and whatnot. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. So today I want to talk about books that I would recommend you to read on personal finance. I love reading books. I love personal finance. And there are a couple of books that I've read that I have learned quite a lot. So welcome, and yeah, let's talk about books, and let's talk about money, and let's talk about personal finance. So the first book I would recommend if you want to improve your personal finance, you want to improve your money management, is The Richest Man in Babylon. I'll put a picture of the book here. This is an old book written, I think, in 1920s. But I think it was one of the first books on personal finance that I read, and it just explains about budgeting, about saving for a beginner. Maybe the words they use might not be that friendly, but the parable that he uses is so interesting. So yeah, and one of the key lessons that we learn in this book is a part of all that you earn is yours to save. So yes, we earn money. Yes, we always want to pay bills. I don't know. We are always looking to buying stuff. We're doing what? But one of the key things we should always remember when you get money is we have to pay ourselves first. So you have to save, and he recommends saving at least 10% of your income. So yes, save at least 10%, and this is something you have to do before you embark on other expenditures. So you save first, and then the rest you can do other things with the money. So yes, he recommends saving at least 10%, and the rest you can go about the saving, but with time you can always increase it. And he also talks about paying debt. He talks about he gives money advice, and there are simple things he says, like you can't be asking for money advice from someone who's not an expert in money. So even the advice we seek, we have to always look for people who are experts in that field and go and talk to them, and they most likely will give us sound investment advice. So there is a young boy in the story who is learning about money. He saves, then he starts investing, then he loses money, and in all that there are lessons that we learn. Like, yes, you have your money, but don't invest in something that is too good to be true. If it's too good to be true, most likely it is. So when you've saved your money, you also want to protect it. You want, yes, to invest, but you don't want to invest in, say, get rich quick schemes and whatnot. So yeah, I loved this book. Surprisingly, I tried reading it again. I think I've read it more than, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago, but the lessons stuck. But I wanted to read it again. I bought it on my Kindle. I was not able to read it. I don't know why, but if you've never read that book, I would recommend. It's one of the best books to read. So the second book I would recommend reading on personal finance is My First Lessons of Investments. I'll put a picture of the book here, and I'll also leave a description of the name of the book right down here. It's written by some Ghanaian authors, and it's an extremely simple book to read. I think when I got my first job, my boss gave me that book to read, and it was one of the best books I read. Very simple. I mean, even a 10-year-old would understand. And it talks about simple money concepts, saving, investing, budgeting, and whatnot. One of the lessons I learned from this book was, let's say you're paid a salary, you have to break it down into 4 components. So 10% is for saving. You have to save at least minimum 10%. You also have to give a tithe 10%. Remember, as Christians, we give tithe usually 10%. So that's the second 10%. Then another 10% is for emergencies and whatnot. And usually I also decide that okay, 10% is also for emergencies, for anything, or entertainment, or michangos, or like harusi, or what. All this other stuff falls under this 10%, and then the rest 60% is yours to spend on every other thing that you normally spend on. So it's from this, it's really important that you take away this 30%, and the 10% for saving, for tithe, and for emergencies. You take it away first, and then you can spend the rest. Usually if you take it away first, you would not overspend because you're just left with 60%. And from here I also learned, it was from this book I learned on the power of compound interest and whatnot. I remember when, given it was my first job, I started saving at, was it 10%? And after, was it 2 or 3 years, I had some money. Don't ask me what I used that money for, lesson for another day. But it proved what I learned, that it doesn't matter how small the money you've saved is, as long as you're consistent. So even if you're keeping, even if it's just 10,000, even if it's 50,000 or 100,000, as long as you're consistent over time, that money is going to grow. So I'd recommend reading that book. I hope you can get it in local bookstores. I'm not sure. So I'll leave a link on the book right here. So the third book on personal finance that I recommend reading, especially for beginners, is The Smart Money Woman. This book is written by a Nigerian author called Arese Ugwu, and she tells finance concepts through a story, and each. So she says, so the story is about Zara, who has a high-paying job. She has all these designer bags and handbags and whatnot, but deep down she has so much debt. She's literally drowning in debt. I think her mother's house get burnt and she didn't have money, so every time she's just living paycheck to paycheck. And this book is mainly for the African middle-class woman. She explains financial concepts in such a simple language. After each chapter, she gives an exercise, and you can, if you do the exercise, you are going to actually grasp these concepts more. Like, say there's calculating your net worth, so she'll tell you these are assets, these are liabilities, calculate your net worth, and after that you know, okay, fine, this is where I am, and how do I get to my goals? Or let's say you want to travel. I think this book is not really about limiting yourself for what. If you want to travel, it's fine, but you can budget for it and say that, okay, fine, I want to travel, but I'll be setting up aside some money so that I can be able to travel. So I really enjoyed reading this book. If you struggle with money, or you want to learn how to manage your money better, or you want to improve your relationship with money, I definitely would recommend reading this book. It's an easy book to read. It's a quick book to read. So I would recommend you read the book, you do the exercises, and you learn a thing or two about personal finance. So those are my recommendations for now. What books have you guys read on personal finance that I would recommend I read? Please leave names of the book below, and I'll see you next time. If you've not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye.